Hello Rockstars, Gargudon here, and welcome to episode 4 of what was called Gunslingers and Street Racers, but from this episode and onwards will be called Rockstars On The Road podcast here on GTABase. Joining me today, I've got GTABase's founder, Andy Badwool, with me, as well as GTABase writer Dylanizm. Together, all three of us are going to be discussing Grand Theft Auto 5 for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, as well as the future of GT Online and the cancelled story expansions for GTAV Story Mode. Now, just before we get started, I want my guests to tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and what kind of content you provide for the site here. Let's start with you, Andy.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. It's great to be part of this podcast that you've been creating. Great job with everything. What do I do for the site? I mean, a little bit of everything, as you mentioned. I'm the founder of it, so a little bit of everything. I oversee everything, the databases, the website itself, server, the graphics, the content, everything that goes in. So if anything breaks on the website, it's likely my fault. That's what I'm trying to say. So I pretty much keep up on everything on the website.
You're doing a great job. No worries there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Dylan, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we can get the show on the road.
Sure thing. I hail from India, and I've been working with GTABase for a short period of time now. I mainly focus on the artful aspects of GTA and how it has shaped up the community that we are in right now. And mostly about that. And personally, I love playing these games, and I would love to write about them too. That's basically it.
That sounds awesome. So, with all intros and such out of the way, let's drive into the racing lane that is this topic. So, my first question is, what are your expectations for Grand Theft Auto 5 on the next generation consoles, and how do you think this version will be different from the two existing versions of the game, especially in terms of the new GT Online standalone version and the future of the online multiplayer mode?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this subject. It's a very fascinating subject to talk about. As far as the story mode, I mean, of course, I don't expect big changes in story mode. I probably expect just graphics improvements and maybe some mechanical improvements, but I don't expect many changes in story mode. What about you guys?
Yeah, I as much as I hate to agree, I kind of have to agree. Maybe they'll do some new content, kind of like they did for Xbox One. You know, new vehicles, a few new exclusive missions and such for returning players. But I fear that's going to be about it.
I tend to lean towards the latter because GTA, when we look at it, it has always been a game franchise that was driven by consoles rather than PC, right? So when it's being released for a new console, we can definitely expect something new out of it. But at the same time, the consoles also have a little catching up to do because the game runs so good in the PC right now. So they'll have to match that performance first and then exceed on the content part.
Yeah,
I guess these contents might trickle down later to the PC as well, but that is yet to see, right?
Yeah, I think with the upcoming version for the PS5 and Xbox Series X, I mean, I would assume the performance would match a PC because the current consoles can handle it. So I think Rockstar will be able to put them in line with the PC version when it comes to that.
Definitely, it's we can hope to see some interesting creativity from the Rockstar front with regards to running the game smoothly.
Yeah, and also there has been rumors recently that the enhanced GT5 version could use the Red Dead Redemption 2 Rage engine. I don't know if you guys read about that, so that could also be.
I think I may have read a little bit about it. Not that I'm too knowledgeable on game engines and such, but I can see where we're getting at.
Yeah, if they were to do that, of course the performance would probably be a lot smoother, but people were wondering whether that actually means there also will be gameplay changes for that, because a new engine could mean a revolutionized gameplay with completely new animations, but it's hard to imagine they would do something like that for a year-old game almost, rather than focusing on GTA 6. So I don't know. Some people were hoping for a new melee system to be similar to the one in Red Dead, which would be very nice considering that GTA 5 has a kind of poor melee system. So that
It's actually funny because I actually quite enjoy GTA 5's melee system, especially coming off of GTA 4. Actually, I think it works really smoothly, and there are great controls, and you can actually like manage it, which in GTA 4 on consoles was like impossible to some, for me at least. Maybe I just suck, but
I do second that. I've had that experience with GTA 4 as well. But right here, it's the current generation. Red Dead does it so much better than Grand Theft Auto, like Andy mentioned.
Yeah, so that would be very nice. Like after all, when like you mentioned, Gargudon, in the PS4 and Xbox One version, we did see like new content. We even saw new animation with the first-person mode.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
maybe they can bring some new updated animations here and there. I don't expect like I said, I don't expect like a big overhaul of the old gameplay, but maybe some little touches here and there that could happen.
I mean, in general, the PS4, Xbox One versions was basically the old version of the game. They broke it down, rebuilt it, with more foliage. It also, made the world more richer in terms of like animation and textures and overall, I guess, responsiveness from the world, NPCs and whatnot. And then they touched up the graphics a little bit, but they didn't like build it from scratch using that console technology like they did with Red Dead 2, for example.
Right.
What I would like to point out here is that ever since the casino update, we have been seeing some additional properties being added to the cars and the general mechanics with regards to the driving in GTA 5.
Right.
You have observed the cumber that comes with the cars, and then some additional pointers added to make the driving more realistic in GTA 5, and those have been migrated over to PC as well, or almost on an immediate basis. So I think that Rockstar were testing out these effects in the previous gen consoles already, and we can see that those technologies in a much more matured fashion in the next generation consoles, because those consoles allow for that.
That could be.
Yeah. So I guess technically you guys don't think it's going to be much different. Sure, they're going to take advantage of the new technology, but other than that, it's going to be touching up the current versions rather than like making an entirely new version.
That we can get into.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that because that seems to be like the reason why they're even bothering remastering this game for the third, fourth time now. It's because of GTA Online. I mean, we're coming into the 8th year of GTA Online, which is crazy to think about, especially being a day one player. Like I think all of us, because I'm honestly skeptical of it. I hate to say it, but GTA Online has seen its golden days, and that ended a long time ago in my eyes. So honestly, I fear they're just going to be milking it in a way. They're doing it to milk it, and all this stuff they're adding to online now with new locations and whatnot just seems better fit for like a story mode type expansion, a single player type expansion. I don't know if you guys can agree with me on that.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, and maybe they also think that because look what they've done. They've made the new heist. They made it possible to play the single player. So it's essentially like a hybrid DLC where it's kind of single player because effectively you can do it all on your own or multiplayer. So it's kind of a hybrid world where they said, okay, if you want to play single player, you can do it. But if you want to play with your friends, you can also do that. So I guess it's a nice mix that they come up with there.
Definitely, but I do stick with your point that any new content to GTA 5 it still feels less likely, right? Because we've been seeing the same streets, the same missions going over again, and there were some game modes which got added over time. Yeah. But however, it did not change the game too much.
Absolutely.
From the initial days we started with online.
I mean, I like the original days of GTA Online, like where $1 million was considered a fortune, and it was just about fun, really. Contact missions, having some fun racing, chilling in free mode.
It was the most expensive car.
Before it became an indirect pay-to-play with, I'd say, around the time they solely started releasing updates for PS4, Xbox One, where the updates, I've said this before, just got bigger and everything just got more expensive. And hell, okay, there's this new heist, but you need to purchase an in-game bunker for like 2 million in-game dollars in order to even be able to play with the new content. While in the past, like maybe there were some new content missions you could play immediately, and other than that, it was just like new clothes, new cars, some new game modes and such. It was overall just more chill, like back on the PS3, Xbox 360 days.
Yeah, like maybe at that point they didn't realize yet that it could have been like such a cash-making machine that it turned out to be. And then
they had no idea.
We might have something here.
I mean, they had no idea, especially watching like the original GT Online gameplay video from August of 2013. There's like nobody knew what was in store there.
Yeah.
Where it was about,
So, I went through your podcast with Dirty Worker earlier.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree with him to a great extent.
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about some of the same things there in terms of online and its
GTA,
de-evolution.
The Rockstar Games is actually a publicly traded company now, and obviously their business motto would be to make more money, and they are trying to appeal to a vast majority of audience by releasing things which are not exactly in line with the GTA culture that we have grown up with.
Yeah.
It's a organized crime simulator, and a flying bike exactly does not fit into that, or a deluxe, or
this is like
so
Grand Theft Auto, not
fiction,
Blade Runner or something.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, if we, apart from the of course, the Rockstar has to make money, and we know that. It's a subject that we also discussed with Dirty Worker in the last podcast, in the previous podcast. But as far as content in GTA Online, what do you think we could see new? Because Rockstar did mention in the last update that they pretty much said they filled the current map to the max in GTA Online at the moment, and that's why they started looking into map expansions like Cayo Perico.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
So the next expansion could also be another map expansion. People are clamoring for like a Liberty City map expansion.
And it's skeptical, and as awesome as that idea sounds, I just don't want the beautiful GTA 4 Liberty City map to just be used for like an online expansion. Like, it's too rich to just like kind of be thrown in the background of this chaotic online multiplayer with flying bikes and whatnot. Like, I want it to be. I want it to have some more context, if you know what I mean.
Yes. So what I would think is, if they were to do a map expansion, I wouldn't expect them to like be able to just fly there with your oppressor. Like, if you go to Liberty City, you pretty much have your own properties there, your own garage, your own vehicles, and it's all like a separate city where you live in, and you can be the same character. Like, it's a different set of stuff that you have. So if the oppressor is in Los Santos, it stays in Los Santos. You can't bring it to Liberty City, for example. Like, it's all different. Because, of course, like you said, it cannot be just a background element. But if they were to do it, they would need to do it properly. So they would need to like create purchasable things, and maybe even have a lot of missions.
That's the thing with missions, as you said, because we've seen that in GTA games, that there's like this second location that is only used for one mission, but it feels very context-wise. Like, you have North Yankton and Bury the Hatchet in GTA 5. You have, I think it's St. Mark's Bistro in San Andreas, where CJ goes to Liberty City to kill some guys for Salvatore Leone. And I think there may have been in some other games, I can't remember right now.
I would hope they do it properly.
Definitely. Like, it needs to have a purpose other than just to attract players and to be there in the background. Like, it's as Luis Lopez would say, it's Liberty City. Yeah,
I agree.
And that's the thing.
And that's such things coming from Rockstar, which is why you and I both feel skeptical about such updates coming to an existing game from a long time ago.
Yeah, and in general, like, in terms of this standalone version, like, how standalone will it be? Like, we have a Red Dead Online standalone now, but it's basically just the same Red Dead 2 files, but without Red Dead 2 story mode. Like, from what I know, the size is the exact same and whatnot, But
Yeah.
it
So,
seems kind of pointless from how I can understand it. That may just be
right.
me,
So
but
yeah. So and that's also the question that I have is, say they focus on expansions, for example, they might add Liberty City. That would be fantastic. But
yeah,
a question is, what would happen when GTA 6 comes out? Because
yeah. Then
like,
what? Like
it
we
seems
also,
like
me and Dirty Worker also talked about that. Like, are they gonna kind of have this multiplayer mode transition from game to game? If it's all about that in reality, like because
it's a
GTA
challenge,
6 needs to be a new project, like fresh technology, fresh
right?
story, and it just needs to be a fresh project, an entirely new project.
So the standalone editions like suggest it's being decoupled from GTA 5 to continue as a standalone separate entity. But at the same time, like I expect that with GTA 6, with a GTA 6 version, like Rockstar will want like a new online version that where people start over and don't have all their stuff they already have.
Why
So
the hell, like, yeah,
kind of a challenge.
why the hell would people want to do that? I'm just thinking, like, they have so much progress on their GTA Online.
Well, yes, but Rockstar will want people to start over
Of course. That makes them more money.
Essentially, like imagine a new version comes out, GTA 6 Online comes out, and people are already in the end game because they already have like 50,000 millions, and they can buy everything that's new in GTA 6, and then what's the fun?
Yeah.
I mean,
and everything that would come out for the next 3 or 4 months as well.
Or years, yeah, whatever. So it's in the interest of Rockstar to make people start over in GTA 6, but also I guess it's also in the interest of the players, because let's face it, I mean, if a new game comes out with a brand new content, vehicles, properties, a new map, and you already have millions to buy everything, then what's the fun of even playing it? So maybe even in the interest of the player, it's better to like start new. It's a new game after all.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, GTA Online as a standalone, I think the aim is to make the game more accessible. Maybe it can be cheaper, maybe even free, because on consoles,
I see what you
they
mean,
have to have a subscription.
Because a lot of people buy GTA 5 for just online, and why would they want to buy like GTA 5 that they're likely not even going to touch if they just want to get to the online? So I see what you mean with accessible, and that might be...
that is my angle on it, because in a country like India, where I'm from, we definitely don't spend a lot for game titles. And if GTA Online could somehow be managed at maybe 40% or 50% of the actual game, I think a lot more players are gonna buy into that, because such markets in developing countries, I think we still have a lot of audience who have not yet played a Grand Theft Auto game, simply for the cost part of it, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be a reason, but
because the Rockstar gaming industry can penetrate these markets with much more ease if it is hopefully made free, because the first 1 or 3 months, right, is free on PlayStation 5. So that got me thinking, if more people could play these games like how Valorant is or PUBG was, so that could definitely create a boom for the users in Rockstar Games. And definitely then, if they want to, they can still invest in the shark cards, which Rockstar so desperately wants to sell.
Right, so yeah, and also something that I was thinking that I noted down, because I noted like a few tidbits of ideas that I had, is maybe if they go with the standalone version, I don't know, this could be a possibility, or it could be a fascinating thing to think about. GTA 6 might only be a single player game, and then GTA Online will like
kind of be its own thing.
Yeah, because it's hard to think about it, because
then they could they could like technically start adding, let's say, new vehicles and such from 6 into online and weapons and such, if that's what they wanted to do.
A different map.
It is bittersweet, because again, of all the promises that a GTA 6 would bring, we will only slowly see that in GTA Online, which is already a map full to the brim, as we talked about.
So imagine like in GTA Online, you could, let's pretend like GTA 6 is in Vice City. Let's just say.
Just for the sake.
And imagine like you can go at the airport and you can say fly to Vice City or something, and then the game I guess one way they could do it is that if you purchased the GTA 6 game, story mode GTA 6 version, then in GTA Online you can fly to Vice City because it gets the data of the map from your installation of GTA 6. Otherwise, if you don't have GTA 6, then you can only stay in Los Santos in GTA Online. That would be something that could be nice.
I see what you mean. So yeah. All right, but I think
then again, I mean,
go
ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just. I think we've covered this like pretty all around. So if you want to wrap it up with this, you can, and then we can move on to my next point.
Yeah, one more thing that I was thinking is, if that was possible, how would that work? Because, like you said, you have a new engine, new animations, new graphics, new physics. So if you were able to travel between like different cities, what gameplay, like what happens when you change map and you go to Vice City, then the gameplay and physics changes? Like that wouldn't work. So
I think when GTA 6 gets released, as you mentioned, the engine update should happen to all the Rockstar games, which are system, console or PC, whatever.
So even the current GTA Online version.
Exactly. So that might make it happen, but it has to have the compatible titles already installed through Steam or through Social Club directly.
Yeah, so that would be like an idea. So let's say when GTA 6 comes out, the standalone version of GTA Online gets updated with like all the new mechanics and animations to be the same as GTA 6. So now you can either go to Los Santos if you have GTA 5, or you can go to Vice City if you have GTA 6. Hell, maybe you can go to GTA 4 if you have the GTA 4 remaster version. Then maybe
exactly. Because I've been hearing about these remaster rumors as well, and if somehow they could fit it all together some way. See, what I think is that Rockstar is trying to build a fan base which is already huge, and they want to sell the next game or title or product directly to these folks first before they sell it to everyone else.
Yeah.
So such integration definitely makes sense in such a platform.
I'll just say this and then we can move on. But in terms of those remasters that news came out about, it would be a great way to kind of introduce new fans to GTA's origins, if you know what I mean. Because I think a lot of players, of GTA Online, like, they're younger than like most of these old games. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I was 13 when I started playing Grand Theft Auto 4. But those games like San Andreas is legendary. I've never really played 3 and Vice City like out full, but then I'm in for something. But San Andreas alone is like legendary.
Oh, trust me, it's a treasure because most of us have played from GTA 2 onwards, and the journey was so rewarding. That's all I would like to say right now, because you should really have to experience it to totally get that.
Absolutely. All right, but all right. Unless you guys have anything to add, let's move on. So my next question is: are you disappointed that the otherwise planned story mode expansion for GTA 5 got cancelled early on due to the unexpected mass success of GTA Online? And what would you have liked to see one or several expansions consist of?
So I did a lot of reading about these story DLCs. Sorry, Andy.
No.
But
go ahead.
I did some reading about these cancelled DLCs ever since the news came out back in the mid of 2019, I think. So the planned DLC expansions were similar to the Undead Nightmare mode for
something like zombie apocalyptic, but in Los Santos.
Correct. Exactly, like a modern day zombie apocalypse, like the Walking Dead series.
Yeah,
they were trying to get that done in the game, more like a single player mode than in the online.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but I think it was in 2014. There was a Rockstar Newswire article that said, like, stay tuned for new GTA Online coming out soon, as well as a continuation of Michael, Franklin, and Trevor's story. Yeah, here I am, 6.5 years later, like, just waiting.
Where is the expansion?
Like, there is no way around it. They definitely announced it. I remember it, but
But
like we said, like GTA Online got in the way, and I am a bit disappointed that we didn't see
I'm
it
super
implemented.
disappointed because I started playing a story mode again, like on and off, kind of finish a replay. I started a long time ago, here some months ago, and I just love story mode. Like, I take it over online any day. Like, sure, it may not be as big, but it just feels more down to earth, and it's one of the best open world games. Like, literally just getting in your car as one of the 3 characters and just driving around is one of the most fun things to do. Oh, I want to get a tattoo. I'll do that. Oh, I want to do a race. I'll do that. Like, there's so much to do. I love it.
Open world games.
Yeah.
Like, I think with the recent release fiasco of Cyberpunk, we can appreciate how good Rockstar is.
Oh yeah. And how much time they put into it. Because the Rockstar tradition is...
We take it for granted.
Yeah,
like,
because...
With Rockstar, we take it for granted, but then we see other games come out,
and it was just rushed.
Come, like, too close to, like, 1/10 of what Rockstar can do.
The thing with Rockstar is, whenever they announce a release date, don't take that in for a second, because they're always going to delay it.
Like, don't they actually deliver.
Yeah, but like with Red Dead 2 originally, I think it was October 2017. Like it ended up like being delayed twice. Not that I have anything against that, but and also came out at a better time for me personally and whatnot.
When you talk about the single player mode like that, we are enthusiasts and we talk like enthusiasts.
I think
there is a huge base who are paying for the online experience, and that voting with the wallet really speaks to the developers.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, most who have such a love for story mode are those of us, I guess, who were forced to play it. Like, you know, because online wasn't released until 2 weeks after the original game released originally, and that alone is for me just the nostalgia. Like, I play story mode, and then I'm suddenly being taken back to when I was like 14, first playing through the game. So there's some nostalgia in it too. But I think you're right. Like, I think a lot of people who bought GTA 5 after the release of online, and especially like a few years after, haven't touched story mode. And I've stumbled upon many people who said that. Like, they haven't even touched it at all.
That's a shame.
That's such a shame, because while I'll say this, GTA 5 took a more lighthearted approach to story compared coming off of 4. And it felt more like, I guess, a kind of buddy action comedy, kind of like Fast and Furious in some ways, and other action movies, more than it felt like a story. But that worked at points, while at other points it also just became a little stale. There was nothing real at risk during like the trio, as I call them, their story, but I still enjoyed it, and I would love to see it continue. Like, I want to hear this. Ideally, how would you like to see the trio story continued?
So we're pretending that ending C is canon, right?
I am pretty sure that is canon, ending C, where they all survive.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't know. I
have a few loose ideas myself.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking a story that kind of, let's say, picks up a few years after the main game, and they've kind of gone each their way. Like, Michael, he's a film producer now. Franklin has maybe gone into some legit stuff, maybe banking or something. And Trevor's Trevor. That's the best way to describe him. And they've kind of gone each their own way, but then maybe like an old enemy resurfaces, like an old Michael and Trevor used to have beef with, like threatening all of them, and they kind of have to get back together for one last ride. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And kind of, ideally, I would like to see Franklin, like, explore his character, see him go legit, you know? Like, getting out of the hood. Like, he has his mansion in the hills, but now he has a legit job. Maybe he has a fiancée too. Maybe he's expecting a child and whatnot. Just build upon his character. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Mafia games. And,
that's the funny. Can we talk about that for a second? Like, how the hell did that become an official meme 7.5 years later?
I don't know.
But it's great to see, as I said, story mode get some love. Finally, like
maybe Tanisha.
Maybe Tanisha will call your ass if you stop from that brain surgeon on the law she with. Yeah.
As I was saying, big fan of a Mafia series of games, and what happened there is that in Mafia 3, the protagonist of Mafia 2 comes back as a business owner, or
he's gone legit.
As a helper to the protagonist, Vito Scaletta. Yeah. So we can expect something like that to come up from one of the trio, or maybe all of them.
I would say
And,
Franklin is the most
protagonist.
likely, considering, yeah, Trevor's Trevor and Michael, like, he already has a family and whatnot.
Right.
Um,
Definitely, Franklin is the younger of the
He's the youngest,
trio.
but most mature of them, somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's just sitting
There
there
are a
listening
lot of
to two
possibilities
old men
there.
bicker.
Correct.
Yeah.
That and also, fitting in a new protagonist is also equally probable because
Yeah.
to add perspective to the matter, it can because generally when we look at GTA games, it's always about a protagonist who is starting at the bottom of the organized crime ring.
Yeah, and then you build yourself
So,
up.
Exactly. So being able to play as Franklin or any of the trio can just make the players start from the middle instead of the bottom.
Absolutely,
Or
and
else something happens and these characters are brought back to the bottom.
absolutely,
At the start.
and it will be interesting. Franklin, he's kind of gone legit now, and then he's kind of drawn back into the world of crime, because I really like his character, and there's a lot of potential, and especially his relationship with Lamar is interesting to explore further. Like, kind of
Yeah, right.
Lamar, like, whether he wants out or not, and he knows he has the resources, Franklin can help him, but I think Lamar doesn't want to like get out the hood. Like, there's too much, like, he cares too much about, like, his brothers, let's call it that, to, like, want to get out of it.
Emotional investments.
Yeah, like, he doesn't want to abandon them, and you can see him kind of, like, criticizing Franklin for, like, just, oh, suddenly you just start taking, like, multi-million-dollar scores with these white dudes, as he calls it, and then he lives in Vinewood and whatnot, just abandoning the homies and whatnot.
Do you guys think there's good? I mean, I think we're talking like hypothetically now, but I don't think at this point there is a way that they would actually release a DLC. For
I don't
the story
think so
mode. Like,
either, but
I think it's too late for that.
yeah, definitely, but I still like to hypothesize of what could have been, and
Yeah, what could have-
just because let alone the GTA 5 story, I love coming back to that. But yeah, I mean, as hopeless as it seems, I want to keep my hopes up that maybe someday they'll put out the story DLC. Like, also now that, as I said, story mode is like the memes from it, like suddenly parts of it are getting recognition again. Like, would that change anything? I doubt it, but
I think it can trickle down to the single player in the later Rockstar games.
yeah,
But investing on the single player again on GTA 5 is highly less likely.
definitely.
But
But another thing I wanted to talk about quickly, if that was cool, like, how would you guys have liked like an episode from Liberty City concept for GTA 5 expansions? Like, kind of, let's say, 2 stories that kind of like follows other protagonists, but set during the main story, but from another perspective. Do you think that would have worked with this game?
I mean,
we all think
anything
about
could
it,
have
right?
worked.
When we play single player, we wish that I wish there was something more that ties into this later. But definitely the episodes were a good addition to the GTA 4.
Definitely,
universe.
it was great to see the story from other aspect, and kind of some characters that didn't really get closure in the main game kind of got their closure there, like Bulgarin and Ray Buccino and such.
Right. So what I think Rockstar already did with the GTA 5 is to add all 3 characters in the same game to get this different perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, ideally, I was thinking if you were gonna do that with GTA 5, I was thinking someone from the Ballas gang, maybe, kind of see how their gang goes to as Franklin and Lamar and those guys kind of sabotage it
Or
throughout.
someone from Sandy Shores.
And yeah, and a person and a member of the Lost, like kind of him dealing with Johnny, who's just gone meth bat crazy, and then kind of hit maybe once it would kind of maybe be ripping the Lost and Damned a little bit, but then he's like the VP, and he's kind of like then taking over once
I'm placing
Johnny
this
gets his
more
head
on the
smashed,
lines
but-
of Cyberpunk, where we start from 3 different angles, right? One is the street kid, and the another one is corporate, and then there's someone who starts out in the desert, right? Nomad. So from these 3 perspectives, we can just expect, hypothetically of course, that GTA 5 can have a different person start out at Paleto Bay maybe, or someone else starting out at Sandy Shores. and slowly finding their way back into this trio's story loop.
Yeah.
Because these actions have long repercussions. They're robbing a bank, maybe in later days.
They could have come up with anything. I mean, it's not like Gay Tony or of course, Johnny was part of the main game GTA 4, but Gay Tony wasn't.
I actually wanted
they created a completely new character with a completely new.
But I wanted to
story without any.
To touch on that quickly,
without
because
any tie.
What was pretty brilliant about those two, Luis and Johnny, was that you kind of saw them in cutscenes throughout like the Nico story. Kind of like, these guys are nobody too important, but then again, it feels like they're there for a reason. Like they show up at the most random times, and kind of, and then sometimes all three of them are like together, like at the same time, at the same place, even if they don't like really know each other, but you know, you kind of had an idea even before EFLC came out that these guys, they're onto something, these two characters. But I wouldn't really say GTA 5 had any of those characters throughout the main story that were like you kind of started wondering, maybe these guys have more to them than we see here. Like, I can't really think of any. Maybe...
And if anything, they expanded with many of the characters.
I want to say Lamar.
They expanded on online.
But then again, not really.
Exactly, that's what they did. They expanded most of the characters, like...
Lamar, Lester...
Lamar, and... they expanded them into the online.
They worked being expanded as like side characters, but the thing is, would they have worked as playable protagonists? Not really, I think. And then of course, like as I say, a character like Gay Tony, just brilliant character like him, just got wasted in the after hours. Just like, okay, dude, be in the background of this like nightclub disaster, because he was such a great character.
Just a little cameo they did.
Yeah, I mean, why do that? Like, I was having big hopes for if he was to return, like early on, like let's say maybe he gets involved with the trio somehow, or like that would have worked much. It would have been much more juicy. It would just have added much more, because Gay Tony in his own alone was a great character.
The single player game was not getting a lot of love post the first 3 years of the release.
Nah. And it's such a shame, because I love it. I love the story mode. I love coming back to it. Like, sometimes I won't play it for a long time, and then I'll come back to it like all the time for a period of time.
Me too, man. Because looking at other games like Witcher 3 or God of War, for example, they don't have an online mode that they are investing in. They are the players keep going back to the same worlds again, same levels, to see how better I can do this time. So I think the GTA 5 single player mode lacked a certain replayability with regards to challenges, I think.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
Driving around is always fun, but I'm directly comparing it to other games which players are going back to, like Witcher 3.
I can see what you mean, but it's funny you mentioned Witcher 3, because anyone who might watch this, like, I'm a pretty big Assassin's Creed fan as well, and you know, one of the things that has just like made me fall off that franchise for the past few years is the RPG-ishness, like the fact that it's too open. Like, and while you can say a game like GTA 5 is very structured, it just, like, a linear sense just is for the better in my eyes. Like, the fact that it's open, like, all over the place just makes me not invested in like the story and whatnot. I don't know if that's a matter of taste,
I reflect your sentiments here as well. I obviously have seen that too, but I'm also observing at the major market right now, right? The kids that are playing now, the demographics that have changed. Games like DayZ, Valorant, all these games are getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Then there's this other game from the same developer of DayZ, which is now trending. So all these games are too open-ended. There is nothing that is structured in these games.
No.
Every time it's a new thing.
And that's funny, because I would say a game like Red Dead, for example, has RPG elements maybe, in the sense that it is very open, like especially with stranger missions. Like, you can do whatever you want, but then also just in terms of like 100% total completion and story, it still has that sense of structure that is critically essential. But then again, like a lot of the open world aspects are very open. Like you can do whatever you want, and you can
I would like to
do something. You can
open here, like
leave it and
or things like that.
come back to it.
But there's a game for different kind of players, and all of us are in the same bracket. But we are observing the whole market, and there are millions of players who would like something like that as opposed to what we are used to. And Rockstar sees this.
They nail it.
They're trying to take a piece of that pie, you know. They just want a piece of that, and the only way they can do that right now is through online, which is why we see a lot of straying away from the main story series.
Like, I think it's single player games nowadays. It's like, what do people want? Like, it seems this RPG formula is the most popular, but then again, like, I prefer structure. And also for a guy like me, like, you know, I love going for like the gold medals in the story modes, and whatever games has those like optional objectives just for a sense of satisfaction. And while others, you know, they don't give a single about that, but yeah.
It's more about the story for some of them.
Yeah, sure.
The others, it's all about achievements and time, the time that it takes. Someone cleared the Hitman 3 Dubai level in 9 seconds.
What?
Oh, yes. And that was right after 2 days of release, I think, because that struck me, you know. There are people who are waiting for a new challenge, a new game.
Yeah, definitely.
And Hitman, as you know, is also quite open-ended as to how you plan the murder. It's a murder simulator. So there are all these games that are structured differently, but I think Rockstar as a lead in the developer community, I think they want a piece of more demographic than what they already have. And if they don't change the single player aspects like they did, I don't think they will expect to see any growth for the next
I see
game.
what you mean, and now that I think of it, maybe it was the fact with GTA 5, as I said, the more lighthearted approach to story that ultimately kind of made it fade away. GTA 4 is my favorite GTA story, no questions there, just because of how dark and how tragic it was with Nico. And I think they want to go back to that with GTA 6. Maybe
that is real
a darker story.
Real crime is always dark.
Yeah, a darker, maybe more worthy of your attention, time, recognition story, in a way. Rather than just like any action comedy movie ever.
The thing that I sorely missed in the 5 map is, again, as mentioned, it was the Las Venturas map. And that is a great premise for anything dark and shady.
They should definitely remaster that at some point. Because that's, I think I've said that before with Vegas. I've been there once. You know, from the outside, it looks so glamorous. But there's probably something hiding behind that facade.
Right. It might be remastered. The recent rumor that came
something
out.
From the Mafia line as well, you know. American Mafia is not as prominent as they were back in the 70s, let's say. So definitely that trickles down to how they live out their lives in the current decade. That all those things can be explored with a darker theme. But right now, we were put into the middle of Los Santos, one of the most glamorous cities in the world, and we are taking care of the story from there. But a different perspective, a more darker perspective, can definitely help the series regain a lot of fans who had left, maybe. I think a lot of people played the single player and left because of how online was turning out to be. So Rockstar can target those individuals back to their grave with probably a story mode tweak or the next installment in the game.
So what is your take when it comes to, what do you think? Do you think that GTA 6 might really be a single player only game and the standalone version of GTA Online will just be continuing with the updated mechanics, but like as a separate entity, so there will not be a separate GTA 6 Online. It will just be GTA 6 story mode, and that's it. What do you guys think?
It would be a big shame if GTA 6 is not its own thing, you know.
Yeah, well, do you think the GTA 6 will also have an online that comes with it, or do you think that it will only be a story mode game?
So what I think is that it might not come with its own online. It should be a single player only, at least at first. But as we came to see with GTA 4, there was an online element that got latched onto it towards the end of that product cycle. But I think GTA 6 should remain single player rather than online.
Yeah. Especially if they can tie in the map with the standalone version like we discussed earlier.
Yes,
I mostly agree,
make GTA Online standalone and keep tying in maps. That is totally fine with us.
Yeah, that would be
based
great.
Based on what we talked about, like make GTA 6 a single player game, and then you can maybe add co-op elements to it, like kind of within the single player game. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have played Assassin's Creed Unity by any chance.
Right.
Like there you had like the single player game, but then there were co-op missions like that were needed for the like 100% completion. You could play them alone or with friends. It definitely was an advantage with friends, but then kind of tie those co-op elements into the story, if you know what I mean. Like make some co-op specific missions. Kind of that combo that could maybe work.
Yeah, especially since they said there might be two protagonists, one male and one female, and then maybe maybe one player can control one and the other player can control the other, or maybe with a split screen, even in your own couch multiplayer,
maybe,
or maybe online.
Maybe, yeah, that could work.
Nice.
Yeah, like do that and let GT Online be its own standalone thing. Would be ideal.
Yeah, I think that will be. I mean, it's a challenge for them, definitely, because I'm sure that technically it's not a very easy task to accomplish. But, I mean, that will probably be like a very nice way to do it, and that will allow for new expansions like Liberty City, or if they're really remastering the trilogy now, who knows if they could implement that. I mean, that would be a dream. I mean, Rockstar did say at one point, like years ago, they did say one of our dreams is to have a GTA that includes all the map in one word. Yeah. All the maps in one word. They did say that years ago, so maybe they'll be getting there someday.
Yeah. All right, but other than that, I think we've covered a lot of like interesting things. Do any of you guys have something before we slowly wrap it up?
No, from my end, just to conclude, I would like to say that all of us here in the GTA community respect Rockstar and respect what they're doing.
Of course.
But of course, Rockstar has to be sensitive about the sentiments of the OGs or the guys who started it all, and also tend to the newer audience as well. And they have to find that middle ground where all of them can have fun. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Absolutely. What about you, Andy?
Great. No, nothing to add. I think we covered a lot of stuff here, and there's a lot to think about and to explore. And I'm looking forward to see what happens with the next gen version of GTA 5 and the standalone version of GTA Online. I mean, I've been a fan of Rockstar Games for like over almost 20 years now. Actually, over 20 years. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right, then. But then I just want to thank everyone for watching and listening to episode 4 of Rockstars On The Road, and I hope all of you enjoyed listening to the three of us discuss this. Stay up to date on everything happening on GTABase and more things Rockstar, such as virtual photography from GTA 5 and ROTR 2. Links to ours, as well as my personal social media pages, will be in the description below, should you be interested in checking that out. Finally, keep an eye out for more podcast episodes coming sooner than later here on GTABase. I think Andy will be joining me for the next one as well, for a topic I'm excited for. Ain't that right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You'll know more about that soon. Finally, if anyone has feedback or topic ideas they'd like to share with us, feel free to do so down below in the comments. Once again, thanks for watching and listening, everyone. Hope to see everyone for future episodes. Until those come out, stay safe, everyone, and nonetheless, keep the awesome community what it is. And finally, thanks to my guests for joining me. I hope you both had a great time.
Thank you for having us.
And that sums it up for episode 4 of Rockstars On The Road. Stay safe and active, everyone. See you later, Rockstars. Keep on rocking.